Hey guys, I want to do a little restream, sort of live monologue on Bitcoin versus meme coins, and really, I just wanted to, I haven't really kind of laid out my hypothesis for people since I started talking about meme coins, and I just want to kind of reemphasize that I think for long-term savings. There's only one coin that you really ever need to buy, which is Bitcoin. Like it is the store of value. If you're going to put your money away in something for over a year, make it Bitcoin. Do not go into Cardano. Do not go into Ethereum. You may play around a little bit in Solana, but I would say really you have something that's perfect money, which is Bitcoin, which is going to do fantastic over a long period of time. Just guaranteed to do absolutely fantastic. Everything else is kind of risky. And so you have this sort of spectrum, right? On one hand, you have Bitcoin, which is perfect money, which is fantastic. That should be how you measure your success in life, right? So, British Hodl, one of my fellow Bitcoiners always says, you just got to get to one Bitcoin. That's your goal, right? So I think if you're young, when I was in college, I was completely broke. In grad school, I was completely broke, and I couldn't possibly imagine having $100,000 in cash, which is one Bitcoin today. So I get it when people are like, well, I can't allow one Bitcoin. It's crazy money, but that should be an objective for you to get to that one Bitcoin level. And there's under 1 million people on this planet who have one Bitcoin. So I would say that's really your goalpost, is to get to one Bitcoin. Once you got one Bitcoin, you've got some success in life. You exit a company, you're part of some startup, you're in a high position, paying position. You can try to get to 10 Bitcoin. Right. And that's sort of that's sort of the next kind of level, right? You're going to have to be a little bit more lucky. You have to make the right moves. That's 100 Bitcoin. The next, probably the final level you ever get to, if you're ever lucky, is 1,000 Bitcoin. I'm just a little bit below that right now. But it's sort of like 100 Bitcoin is a great level. It's a kind of a dream level to get to. And I think that means pretty much your financial future is guaranteed for the rest of your life and for your children's life. It's enough for you and your progeny to go on. So that's the way I see the financial stuff. I think it's very simple. You just invest in Bitcoin. You don't time it. You don't go in and out. You can look at it. Right now, Bitcoin's just not very interesting. It's not doing anything. It's very, very steady. It's sitting around 97, 96,000. Hasn't done anything for 6 weeks. And that's Bitcoin. But, part of being a Bitcoiner is you don't trade your Bitcoin. You don't sell your Bitcoin. You don't buy your Bitcoin. You don't get too caught up in like options on Bitcoin or MicroStrategy or options on MicroStrategy or any of these things. You just hold your Bitcoin. Now, if you want to hold an ETF, hold an ETF. If you want to hold your Bitcoin in cold storage, hold your Bitcoin in cold storage. Both are fine, right? If you're just starting out, use a mobile wallet. Just if you don't have very much Bitcoin, you can hold it in a mobile wallet. By the way, you can hold your Bitcoin in Phantom Wallet on Solana. It's a decent Bitcoin wallet if you want. There's better ones. So that's Bitcoin. At the other extreme, right? At the other extreme, we have meme coins. Okay? Now, meme coins are not investments. Now, what I say by that is, if you put your money in a meme coin and you go to sleep for a year and you wake up, you will not have any more money. Most probably, right? Most probably, you wait a year, your meme coin goes to zero. Okay, but that's okay. That's part of what meme coins are, right? Meme coins are kind of a cultural phenomena that happens for a brief period of time, and then it's not worth anything. Okay, you may get lucky and you may get in one of these cultural moments that actually kind of becomes kind of Shiba Inu or Doge. There are a few of these things that sort of just for whatever reason have kind of percolated out into something that's going to probably be worthwhile. I mean, Doge will probably be worth something 10 years from now. Just like Litecoin still has value. It's sort of a meme coin in a way. Like nobody uses it, has no utility of any kind. It's just kind of there. So that's the way I see meme coins. Now, everybody's sort of saying, "How's Pigcoin?" Pigcoin, I think, is pretty good. I don't know. I bought some Pigcoin. I was trading Pigcoin. I bought some yesterday. I'm not going to touch my Pigcoin overnight. I may trade it again. But so any of these coins, though, like everybody's like, well, we started this meme tank. We'll have one tomorrow. It's going to be really fantastic. But by the way, we got all these people. It's going to be, if anything, it's going to be really entertaining. We've got some pretty cool people that are going to be participating in this meme tank. Now, the way I look at meme tanks is that meme coins is this, and look, I'm not as experienced as some of you, but I'm a really fast learner, and I'm pretty quantitative, and I'm very mathematical, and I've already gone through all the math of the bonding curves and everything and all this stuff. So the way I look at meme coins, I just want to give you my perspective on them, right? So the way I look at it is, it's a game, right? So it's a game, and you come into this game, and the game starts when somebody, somewhere, right, starts one of these coins, right? So they're going to start this coin off. They're going to throw a little Solana into it right at the beginning. Usually it's somewhere between 1 Solana and, 20 Solana, right? And what you will see is that the price that you get your Solana goes from the very beginning to the end, right? That price curve, you sort of think, well, that price curve seems like it goes up a lot, right? Like, and you're looking at the market cap and it goes up quite a bit from the beginning. But in terms of price, it's not actually going up that much. Not actually even doubling from the very beginning to the end. It's going up about 60%. And then we have this very sort of bizarre bonding phenomena, right? Where the price just, once it migrates to Radium, it will go up by 10x, right? So we're kind of around $80,000 in price. And we're around $20,000 in price, and then we go to basically about 100 grand, right? And so it takes 83 SOL to get to bonded, right? And so we're going to go up 5x, excuse me. So there's a lot of people have an incentive now to dump, but then after that, other people they can play that the coin's going to go up from there because the dumping is done. So this is part of the game, and everybody can play the game. And, in many cases, the game ends in one day. The game ends in one day. And, you could go to Pigcoin, and Pigcoin might be dead or not, right? People could sell Pigcoin, and Pigcoin comes back the next day and it's big, right? And then if you look at some of these coins that have done pretty well, look at Pump.Fun, and you look at some of there are some coins that have some legs, right? And, Peanut the Squirrel, right? That coin still has $500 million market cap. Fart Coin has a $500 million market cap still. And both of those coins were billion-dollar coins, right? Now, should you buy Fart Coin? I think Fart Coin is going to be a pretty bad investment ultimately. So I kind of am interested in these things at the beginning of their lives, sort of like an early stage investor. I find that they're kind of more interesting. They're more interesting for trading. Look, I just think that they're fun. It's fun. It's a game, right? It's a little bit of a zero-sum game. So if I win, you lose, or if you win, I lose. But the rules are pretty clear, right? Everybody has the rules. We're playing the exact same board. Nobody has any sort of hidden advantages. You can try to rug me. I can try to rug you. Doesn't matter. I say Pigcoin. You go buy Pigcoin. You could sell Pigcoin. You say, Fred, you need to lock up your Pigcoin. Well, what about you? Are you locking up your Pigcoin? Because you may not, right? So listen, I think that's what it is. I do think that, a lot of people who sort of say, well, what's your long-term project with any of these things? Like, I don't think that people have long-term projects for any of these things. I think they're kind of all just kind of meaningless cultural things. And they have value for a moment, and they might eventually have value, right? They might have value ultimately. And so what's the goal? Well, kind of the goal is to kind of define the next fart coin, to kind of get that next coin that actually can last. And look, that's a huge lottery ticket, right? And I get that. Asteroids there. Astro coin. Yeah, look. These coins are fun. Like, you could get, these coins. Now, they're also, you have to be careful about, manipulation, right? Because I can tell you that with like these stupid coins, there definitely wasn't just kind of pure, there were some very smart people who got in on that stupid coin and ramped it all the way up and made a lot of money and had all these bots ready to go. I get it. And I didn't have any idea how any of that works. And, that's not really my gig, but I can tell you that there are a lot of people, there are a lot of bots out there, right? Now, you can also fool the bots. You can play with the bots, and the bots aren't that necessarily that great. And you can design other bots that can attack the other bots, right? So you can do stuff like that. I may or may not be doing something like that. I don't know. Maybe you can do that. Maybe you can develop some anti-bot technology, and then you're tipping the miners to get to, so your meme coin goes in first. And so you can do, there's a whole kind of interesting thing there. And I think you can rug the bots. Exactly. Rug the bots. Okay. So there's all kinds of cool things. And I think, to me, this is a game. So I just don't put it in now all my Bitcoiner cohorts, they're like, well, Fred, these things are all bad and and you know what? Nobody's saying that these things are investments, right? Nobody's saying that you should put your life savings in Fartcoin. At least I'm not saying it. Now, maybe somebody's saying stupid coin and Fartcoin are great long-term investments. I certainly am not saying that. I don't know. If Pigcoin sends after this, it would be bot free. I don't know. Like, I mean, are people deploying Pigcoin bots out there? Maybe, right? I don't know the entire landscape of all these things. I know, and I played around with some of these little things just to sort of understand what was going on. These Telegram bot things that are done. And, listen, I mean, if I sat down at a terminal right now, I would be probably making, if this is my job to fight bots, I probably could be making $1,000 an hour just fighting bots personally. It's not kind of what I want to do with my life, but I think that there's this is a really interesting world, right? And there's opportunities. So if you want to snipe and you want to do stuff like that, do it. Ghost is saying MemeCoins are left folks. Some people will make money. Some people will lose money, right? But listen, I'm not going to knock people who just want to have fun and who enjoy this game. Now, I made the analogy that it's like a horse race. Now, have any of you guys put their life savings? People who put their life savings into meme coins don't have a lot of life savings. I'll tell you that. So, it's a little bit like horse racing. If you ever go to the horse race, my mother used to be a big horse race fanatic. So she'd drag me all the time to these horse races. And these horses, you look at the horse, you look at Secretariat, number 20, number 12 looks pretty good, and you look at these kind of Jockey's Cup kind of things. And you look at this horse and you look at it and you see how he did. And they come in, they run, and it's all over in 3 minutes. Like 3 minutes, the horse race is done. Most likely you lost, Chances of you getting the right 3 in a row is very low. And then what do you do after the horse race? If you won or if you lost, you you play another horse race. That's what you do, right? And these meme coins, a lot like horse racing, right? You just go, I'm not touching my Bitcoin of any kind over the weekend or over today. I made that promise to people. I do not want to add any Bitcoin. Other people can add whatever they want to do with Bitcoin. I'm just having fun here. So I think it's like a horse race, and I think these things will have a lifetime. They will die, most of them, and that's okay. It's okay. It's sort of like, I love my dog. I've had tons of dogs. Dogs have much shorter lives than us, but that's fine. You can still love them. They're great to have around. A fruit fly has a life like a week from the time it's born till the time it dies. And that's a little bit like meme coins. They have this sort of short life, and you can play around with them if you're really good at them and you're really clever. Some people are making a lot of money on these things. I tell you, some people are really making a lot of money on them. And as a kind of a pretty mercenary guy myself, I'm not here to make the world a better place. I'm not here to save the world. I'm here to make money for Fred. That's kind of what I'm trying to do. How do you make money? Well, I'll tell you, you make money. Everybody in meme coins is going to sell their meme coins. They will 100% sell their meme coins at some point. And that's just the rules of the game. So, if you don't like the game, don't play the game. The president is playing the game effectively through proxies. He has groups of people that are handling it for him, but that's the same thing. It's like you're just saying, somebody's going to launch Fred's coin. Okay, well, okay. If I have a team of people launching Fred coin, that's the same as Fred launching Fred coin. It doesn't matter. So effectively, doors open now. We're having these meme coins. I don't think they're going to stop today. It may be that, I was going to make this post. I was telling my friend Ben, he goes, well, when will meme coins die? And I go, well, at some point, people will get sick of the Macarena. Remember the Macarena dance? 20 years ago, everybody was like, you'd go somewhere and it'd be like, you'd hear this, hey, Macarena, blah, blah, blah. And you know what? It got overplayed and people just couldn't take it anymore. Like 3 years ago, it was Despacito, right? That Puerto Rico thing. It's just like every single thing was Despacito. And, and eventually people get sick of it. Now, are people going to get sick of meme coins? Probably. There's probably going to be some variation on meme coins at some point. But, for now, we're probably still not at peak meme coins, right? I think we're going to, we still got some juice left in the meme coin world. So I find it fun. I will probably find it, especially during the period where Bitcoin's not doing anything, I'm going to find it kind of more fun. If Bitcoin goes to 200,000, I'm kind of back to cheering on Bitcoin more a little bit because I got so much Bitcoin. And, at the end of the day, this is fun, but it's kind of peanuts for me. I'm a Bitcoiner a bit, I don't need to scalp little meme coins to pay the rent. But yeah, so this is a meme cycle, just like 2021. This is kind of a cycle, right? And, although I've learned a lot from this last 2 weeks. So what have I learned? I've learned that, Phantom Wallet on Solana and Radium and Deck Screener and all those tools that all you guys, use. Well, they're working really, really well, much better than I thought. I had no idea that this stuff was this fluid and great. I mean, it's not that far away from like Instagram, really, in terms of the speed, everything. It's responsive, it's fast, frictionless. So, I think meme coins are going to be to Solana what these filters were to Instagram, right? When Instagram first came out, I remember it very well when it first came out. I think it was in, I want to say 2008. They had these sort of cool photographic filters, like a 70s look and things like that. And you don't see those filters anymore. I don't even know if they're in. I'm not a big Instagram user, but I don't even know if those filters exist in Instagram. You don't see those filters, but those filters are kind of what made Instagrams blow up, right? And then if you look at kind of what made Twitter really blow up, and I would say it's certain celebrities like Ashton Kutcher in the very beginning of Twitter, if you remember. I think he was the first guy to hit 1 million followers, and that just seemed nuts at the time. Like, how could you have 1 million people following Ashton Kutcher? And here I've got 150,000 people following me on Twitter. So, still nowhere near. I don't know what Ashton Kutcher is, probably at 20 million or something right now. But the idea that a celebrity could have their own Twitter, even though that wasn't kind of the use case of Twitter, really, right? I mean, Twitter was more of a like utility communication tool initially. The fact that celebrities used it to kind of like speak to their audiences kind of helped blow it out. And I think the fact that these meme coins exist and they're kind of fun. I mean, they are fun. They're entertaining, and I think the fact that that's happening is going to get so many people into Solana, right? And it's going to get them into crypto, and they're going to start dealing with seed phrases and wallets and self-custody, and they're backing up their seed phrases because, you can lose your seed phrase on Solana just like you can lose your seed phrase on Bitcoin. So you start having to learn how to back it up and even use hardware wallets. And I don't know really too much about Solana multi-sig solutions, but if I had more Solana, I would, probably learn about that. And you can find out any of these questions now with AI. So if you don't know something, you just go to Grok, go to OpenAI, and start asking and having a conversation with it. It's like having a conversation with the smartest person on the planet. So you can learn about anything, now, and including, by the way, programming. Okay, so if you want to, and by the way, I was a coder back in the day. So I wrote this big program with my brother back in the 90s, right? And and we coded it from scratch in C++. And it was a best-selling program. We invented this concept of layers in Photoshop. So if you've ever used Adobe Photoshop, you have these ideas of layers, right? And when Photoshop 2 was around, right, there was no layers. Okay, there was no layers. There was this concept of a selection. You made a selection, like with the lasso tool or with the marquee, and then you dropped the selection. You moved the selection, then you dropped the selection. That was how these things worked. And my brother and I just had the idea, well, what if we kept these selections around as sort of separate, independent objects? And so, that was our thing. That was our program. We wrote the whole thing really at the low level, right? Super low level stuff. It was called Matisse. It was a best-selling program. 5 Mice Award by Windows Magazine. We did really well with Matisse. It was a Windows program. We built a Mac program after that. It was a lot harder for us to do that. But the program itself was kind of much bigger in scope. But you can learn all that stuff now very easily on your own, right? So you can you can get one of these AI coding things and you can start coding and you can build stuff. You can build bots. You can do all that stuff. You can write Solana bots yourself. And I recommend Windsurf as an application. I think it's just unbelievable, you know. You can sit there and you can chat with the code. It writes code and debug it and test it out in the console and everything and change it around. It'll help you install things. So it's amazing. And it's like having your own personal programmer for free. And it'll teach you stuff like a professor for free. So all that stuff didn't exist. Now it exists. I don't know how I got on that. Favorite hardware wallets? I'm kind of agnostic on that. I actually aesthetically like Ledger the most. And I know true Bitcoiners don't like Ledger because, it has, they've done some, let's call it a little bit shady stuff, with kind of keeping the keys. But all single sig solutions have problems. Okay, so whether it's Ledger, Cold Card, Trezor, I don't care. You do not want to have a vendor risk on your hardware wallet. So the best solution is to do a multi-sig and to actually have multiple different vendors. So use Trezor and two ledgers, or one ledger and two Trezors, something like that. And a system like Casa or Unchained. That's the best. As a Bitcoiner, that's the best solution. Now, these guys don't do the kind of stuff that you guys like. Casa does not support Solana. It doesn't support, for example. I should find out, because I'm friends with them, if they're planning on it. But they don't support Solana, and Trezor certainly doesn't either. So I don't know. But look, self-custody is a big, long kind of wormhole that we can get into at some point. But Codium, Windsurf, that is the best. That's the best thing. And listen, I work a lot with Ben Sigmund, and he's a coding genius. And he Eclipse wasn't bad before. But Windsurf is even better, and then there's, Copilot with Visual Studio. Copilot is not that great. So to be honest, I would say, but all this stuff changes like so quickly, right? So 3 months from now, there'll be something even better, right? But we're getting to the point where you can tell it, I want an application that does this, and it'll just code the whole thing. So, and sort of in general, I'd say if you're young, I would really, if you're young, if I was young right now, I would 100% just be all over these coding platforms. I think that's really a good idea. You're gonna get so much out of it. You can really kind of increase your value add, and you don't have to have a computer science degree or something. Like in my age, Dave, if you didn't have a 4-year computer science degree, you're never going to learn this stuff. You just couldn't get to it. Now, high schooler, no problem. I have a 17-year-old, and he's like, he can code all this stuff now. It's no problem, So, but that was my view on meme coins versus Bitcoin. Now there's this middle zone. A middle zone is dangerous, right? So middle zone is Ethereum. It's layer ones like Cardano. It's Solana in there, right? My view on that is I think there's going to be one winner. And I'm coming to the view that it's going to be Solana. Not because it's necessarily perfect. Okay, Solana has some problems that I can see. The biggest problem it has is that it's not a deterministic. It's not a deterministic blockchain. What that means is you're not guaranteed. When you do something, you don't get a confirmation that it was done or not, right? it's sort of like, well, might be done, probably it's done. And so there's a lot of failure in Solana, right? So actually at sort of peak loads, it's only like 90% of the transactions actually go through. So they just try again, sort of a brute force approach to life. But having said that, I do think that Solana, with these meme coins, this is going to if this thing continues another 6 months to a year, I mean, everybody's going to be on Solana, right? Everybody. And so I'm loving kind of the world of Solana, the world of Phantom Wallet. I really like that. I like these DEXs. I think Radium's really cool. Jupiter Swap, really cool. So I like kind of the tooling. I like the wallets. Not loving Rust, I got to tell you. Not loving Anchor Rust setup at all. But I like stuff that compiles to WASM. So I think having options would be, TypeScript is great. So if you're looking at the world from like EOS, it was all WASM. So you could use whatever you want, TypeScript, C++, whatever you want to do. And I think that was a great optionality. So part of it may just be I'm not as familiar and I'm an old guy and I was one hell of a good programmer when I was in my 20s, really good, but my brain's not what it used to be, and I look back at my PhD thesis and I have no idea how I even wrote that. Like, this doesn't even seem conceivable that I could possibly do it. And the math is just so intense. So now I'm, but that's okay. You don't need to do that as you get older, So yeah, so that's what I think. I definitely think there's still a lot of interest in. I think there's a lot of cool things that can be done with meme coins, and so I have some intellectual interest in these things, and I'm also very pleased with the fact that we have Don Jr. and Eric Trump have they're doing this DeFi project, and that's kind of like, I'm not so interested in that DeFi project, but I'm just happy that DeFi is kind of decriminalized, right? So I think that's really cool. And I got to share with me my vision of kind of where we're going in the next couple of years. So I definitely think, if you talk to somebody over 40 who's in Bitcoin, they're all saying they have this uniform view that basically you're going to have the legacy financial system like Visa, MasterCard. That's how we're going to do payments, right? Credit cards, right? And then we're going to have Bitcoin that's going to be this kind of long-term store of value. I'm going to hold it in an ETF or in a vault somewhere, right? And that's the way the world's going to be, And I got to tell you, that was, if you go back a year ago, that seemed pretty accurate, right? Like, it didn't seem like we were going to have, tokenization and, real fast blockchains and stuff. Now, I think that's really changed, because I think it's very likely now that we're going to have a lot of people who have these kind of phantom wallets, and I just love the phantom wallet. And I got to tell you, I built a wallet. So I built the leading wallet on EOS. So that's how I sort of got into Bitcoin and other stuff. But my first thing was, in 2018, I built this wallet called Lynx, and it's very similar to Phantom in a way. Phantom is better, but it's been tweaked and it's worked on and everything. But our wallet was great. It was a great wallet for US, and we had, we had a lot of users, and we had apps within the wallet. Apple eventually told us not to do that, but we were the people who invented that concept of an app store within the app, and it was great. So I think I think if you think about, and then sort of since 2020, it's just been, you can't develop anything, you can't build anything in crypto. It's all bad, right? But I think now that's going to change, and I think a lot of smart people are going to start building on crypto again, and I think we're going to see projects that happen on crypto again, and I think we're going to see laws that make it, you know, more legitimate, more easy to do projects. And I actually think these projects can work this time around, right? So there's a lot of projects that there were sort of okay ideas, but the timing wasn't any good in 2017, 2018, you know? And part of it was, you know, if you look at Ethereum and you tell people, okay, you got to go develop on the Ethereum blockchain, you got to use MetaMask, and you got to wait 3 minutes for every single transaction. You're not building a lot. Consumers want Instagram. They don't want something that takes 3 minutes to send from A to B. That's just not. That's not that's not valid for consumers. Now, you know, it may be that people say, well, you know, if we're going to be sending money in between intergovernmental agencies and stuff, we need to do it on Ethereum. But I got to tell you, and maybe that's the case, you know, for certain super high value DeFi type trades. But my feeling is this is going to be a winner take all market, and I don't think Ethereum's winning that market. So one of the things that I believe is going to happen is I think Solana is going to come up and it's going to overtake Ethereum. And yeah, but you know what? You say a lot of, okay, stupid Yuki, a lot of crypto projects, the token isn't needed, but the tokens are good. Actually, they're good. You know, and I think one of the things we're seeing with MemeCoins is tokens are very, very good. So we got to get over this period, this Bitcoiner thing about no tokens. You know what? Tokens are fantastic, you know, and Pigcoin is a great coin, you know. Pigcoin may go oink oink to zero, but you know, it's fun trading Pigcoin. Now, you know, if you open your mind, you just turn your mind the other way and you're like, well, what could I do with the token? Well, there's a lot of things you could do with the token, a lot of great things you could do with the token, right? So I think we're going to be instead of a world where you say we're not going to have tokens, I think it's going to be exactly the opposite. I think we're going to see tons and tons and tons and tons of tokens. We're going to see mass tokenization of everything. I think we're going to see tokenization. Certainly, it's going to start with stablecoins. You're going to be your first thing, right? And that's going to be really significant. So what I think in 2025 is going to happen is we're going to get this stablecoin bill. That's the first thing, right? And the stablecoin bill is only going to do one thing. It's going to like solidify the fact that these stablecoins are legal, and it's going to make an opening so that people can swap cash for stablecoins. And that means that banks can do it. That means that merchants can do it. And that means a lot more people are going to start accepting stablecoins. Right. So now, why would you use a stablecoin instead of your credit card? Well, there's a lot of reasons, right? First of all, it's valid all the way everywhere in the world. So you go travel, maybe go to Europe, use your stablecoins, right? Maybe you go to Japan, use your stablecoins, right? So, you know, if you're not making a bet on Bitcoin, you can roughly, you know, that this is going to keep the same peg as the dollar, which is sort of the international sort of unit of account right now. And once you have your once you have your sort of checking account in stablecoins, and it's tokenized, you can then move into any other coin, and specifically you can go into Bitcoin very easily. So, you know, I think this is just a great system. You know, you basically keep, you know, let's call it a couple $1,000s in stable coins that you need for, you know, expenses. Maybe it's tens of thousands of dollars, right? But when you have significant amount of money or just a separate bucket of money, that's kind of your money for the future, you put that in Bitcoin, right? And that's the way I see the world happening, right? So I think this is fantastic for Bitcoin. So a lot of people are like, well, Fred, you're a Bitcoiner, you wrote the book. No, I wrote this big book on Bitcoin, the big Bitcoin book, which was, we probably made more money on that book than on any other Bitcoin book. So we've made $450,000 on the in sales on that big Bitcoin book. But so people are like, how is this Bitcoiner talking about all these tokens? And the answer is, I think all these tokens are going to be fantastic for Bitcoin, because if you got all these people who start and now their life is very tokenized, what are they going to do? Well, what they're going to do is they're going to start using tokens, and then they're going to be like, well, I don't need these tokens today, right? Then you have to take those tokens, swap them for Bitcoin, and just put them in a vault. That's it. Whenever you say Bitcoin, I think you say Bitcoin. It does kind of they sound similar. And, one of the things I was thinking with Bitcoin is I noticed that it was the same number of letters, right? So pig and bit, they sound similar. So I was sort of like, well, that could be a fun kind of coin. But anyways, I definitely think this year we're going to start seeing these stable coins go up. And I think a lot more people are going to use these phantom wallets. I really do. And once you get a phantom wallet and then you're like, well, what else can I do with my phantom wallet? What else can I do with these tokens that I got, right? Well, maybe you can use them to buy shit. Maybe you can go to Amazon and use stablecoins. I don't think that's a stretch to think that, you'll just be able to use your stablecoins in Amazon at all, okay? And maybe you can use them to go in a prediction market, like Polymarket. Or maybe there's a lot of other kind of apps that you can do. Or maybe you can use your Bitcoin and you can borrow against your Bitcoin. So there's all these kind of DeFi type applications and stuff that really could work this time around, as long as we're in this kind of 2.0 world, right? Which is like super fast blockchains, which we now have, right? I think Solana is not the only kid on the block. There's a lot of other people who have fast blockchains, but Solana is the winner right now. They're the leader in the high blockchain category. And you've got the super fast blockchains, the real good UX on the wallets, right? The low fees, right? It only costs a thousandth of a Solana to really maintain a Solana account, 0.001. That's it. It's not a lot. It's like 10 cents, right? Not more than 10 cents. It's about $1, right, to keep a Solana account. So you got low fees, you got high speed, great wallets, you got the DEXs now, you're going to have all these applications. And, people attacking this stuff by saying it's just a bunch of casino coins, I think you're missing the point. Because the point is, that's how it starts. That's how you get to fucking mass market, right? And we are going to have, if you think that, you're only going to have 100,000 people, 100 million people using crypto, you're completely wrong. I'll give you another thing. So when I was back in my Matisse days, they had just come up with the digital wallet, the digital cameras. And I had one of the very first digital cameras the Nikon Coolpix. Okay. And it had, I think, a half a megapixel. It was just like a tiny, terrible quality. It cost $1,000, this camera, right? But, and I bought one of these things. And I was just like, oh my God. And, I showed it to people at Kodak and stuff. And they were like, well, this is kind of a novelty. It's not going to ever amount to anything. And I looked at it and I felt like, I remember thinking, what's the chance of this digital camera technology actually becomes significant? Well, in my wildest dreams, I would not have thought there would be 10 billion digital cameras on this planet today. Incredible, right? And so, these things, once they start hitting, they become huge. Facebook plus Instagram has 2 billion daily active users, right? So you basically got a quarter of this planet every day that logs into Mark Zuckerberg's apps every single day, according to the entire planet, men, women, children, everything. So, you know, I look at something like crypto, and to me, you know, there's about 100,000 daily active users of this stuff right now. 100,000. And I think that number could go up to a billion, literally. It could go to a billion, okay? And it could go a lot faster than you think. And just to give you an example of that, Instagram went from 0 users to a billion users, I believe in 3 years. 3 years, it went from 0 users with the filters that I mentioned to a billion users. Now, you're telling me that you do not think there's an application for 1/8 of this planet to use something that involves tokenizing, that you can send money all over the globe in a second? I mean, that's going to be, you got to be a little crazy if you think that only 1% of the planet's ever going to use these things and that you're so special. No, you're not. You're just early. You're not special. You're early. And, you know, it's just going to be the same thing with the internet, cell phones, broadband internet. You know, that was very rare that people had DSL. Now, of course, everybody has, you know, video on the internet. This is just another technology that's going to go completely mainstream. And that's going to mean that the entire planet is going to be tokenized and it's going to use wallets. And that means that the entire planet can buy Bitcoin. And so it's just like, so now we have this store of value, this digital gold, of which there's only going to be 21 million. And every single person can just do 3 clicks on their thing and buy Bitcoin themselves. Well, what does that mean? It means you absolutely do not need banks. You do not need banks. Well, what's the point of a bank? The only point of a bank is to take your salary, right? Deposit it somewhere, right? And then pay your bills, right? That's it. That's the entire point. But for most people, like occasionally you'll get a home mortgage or a boat loan or something like that. But like you don't need banks. Now, if you have a mobile phone, that's a wallet that has stablecoins and Bitcoin on it, and Solana, for example, right? Just to pay the network fees. You don't need banks. You absolutely don't. And you can earn interest on this stuff. You can do all that through DeFi. Banks are completely, they're about as useful as Tower Records or Blockbuster Video. You don't need them, right? And that's why the banking industry is really trying to stop us crypto people, or us Bitcoiners, from what we know is going to be the case. So I think basically this stuff's inevitable. It's going to take over. It's as inevitable as artificial intelligence at this point. Like this 100% is going to happen. And what you need to do is just, number one, you need to start, when you get some cash, squirrel it away in Bitcoin, right? Doesn't mean that you have to put all your money in Bitcoin, but just keep some squirreled away in Bitcoin, because that you're saving. Let's save intelligently. So save in Bitcoin. Learn everything you can about AI and programming, because that's how you're going to add a lot of value, right? And don't hate on meme coins, because meme coins are fun. So that's kind of my general, got to work out here, bags. Okay. Yeah. So anyways, yeah, Bitcoin is revolutionary. I mean, I absolutely love Bitcoin. And I mean, I literally could talk every single day about Bitcoin, because I think it's just one of it's undoubtedly the two things I think in my life that I've seen that are the most important are Bitcoin and AI. And I'd say that internet's number 3. I think Bitcoin is more important than the internet. Probably not as important as AI. I think AI is the ultimate. That's the ultimate. That's it, because that's going to replace us. But I think Bitcoin is second, because I think the system of governments that print their own money, and I mean, fiat is the ultimate shitcoin. Forget it. Like, fiat government printed money is the worst. Okay, you're talking about getting rugged on a meme coin. How about getting rugged by having your savings obliterated by the Federal Reserve? That's the ultimate rug, right? Is the Federal Reserve and stuff going out. So you can't save in dollars. You need to have a better way to save. And you should think, even if you're young and you don't have much, you should start to think about saving. And I think Bitcoin's going to do sufficiently well that if you just put, 10% of your salary into Bitcoin every year for the next 10 years, you're going to do extremely well. Doesn't mean you can't play around with other things. And, I would encourage you to play around with other things and to get really versed on some of these technologies, especially the AI coding tech. That's something I think is very, very important to learn. And it's against the tyranny, because look, at the end of the day, some of you most of you are almost certainly in the US, but look, you never know when you want to leave your country, right? You never know, right? You don't know. So I think having, control of your own money is really important, because you could be in Turkey, okay, and then all of a sudden your bank, that's no longer your money. You have money in the bank. Well, they're kind of like, they now view it as your money. They're going to just trickle it out to you. So and having your money in a bank in in Nigeria or something is not that good either. Anyways, I gotta hop. I hope you enjoyed my